This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
How you doing, Al?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good.
Good. And welcome all to Alan Hudson's American Dream. Al, we were going to do it a couple of weeks ago, but it is more poignant now that we're doing it today, because when we were going to record it, America hadn't qualified for the World Cup, but now they have. So first and foremostly, well done, America. Well done, Anthony. You must be a very, very proud parent.
Yeah. It's incredible, really. He's come a long, long way. To think that only 18 months ago I went up to see Harry Redknapp with him, and he was speaking to Willie Mackay, and Willie Mackay said, I can get you a job with Doncaster, you know. And I kind of said to him, you know, you don't really want to come back here, and it all fell into place. And he got the USA under-21 job from after a bad spell at Colorado, and then got promoted into the first team. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you couldn't write a script, Paul.
You couldn't, because the script is getting even better, because America have been drawn against England in the group. An unbelievable draw for America, and a draw that Anthony must have looked at and thought, please let us get England, and they did get England, so we're all looking forward to that. And I guess in the Hudson household, mixed emotions. I'm sure that his mother Maureen will be hoping that Anthony wins, and I'm sure that you will as well, because blood does come before water. And
I haven't been an England supporter for a long, long time, since they had all the trouble with them, and I've still got this case going on with the FA where I've asked my name to be removed from or everything that they involved me with. I wasn't happy, and so really, I was so happy when Anthony was born in Seattle to begin with. Because I wish both of my sons really, well, for 3 sons, but I wish the 2 with more, and I wish they were both American. Because they got so much more. They call it the land of opportunity, and it most certainly is. And it's something we spoke about last week about the boy, our namesake Ray Hudson, who started his career with me. He was at Newcastle United. I played against him in 1969-70. And at the end of that season, he went over, as players did in those days. The clubs would want to keep their players fit throughout the summer, and they sent him over to Fort Lauderdale, and that was the last we see of him. And then 8 years later, when I left Arsenal and went to Seattle, we kind of renewed our challenge. And to think that he'd been there 8 years, I often wonder if that happened to me. It's a very fine line between. It was such a fantastic experience in the American League, and I I loved Arsenal. I really loved Arsenal as a football club, and I didn't really want to leave. I just couldn't get on with the manager. But I wouldn't have swapped my Seattle experience for anything. It was just a dream, playing in America, the country itself, the lifestyle suited me down to the ground. It was great, and plus the fact the wonderful thing about it for people like me was it's such a vast country, and you're over there, and people didn't look at you like they do in England. All they want to do is write all the negative things about you, about drinking and this, that, and the other. Where the social scene in America really is very much in our favour, because they expect you to, be social. And our Seattle team, we every Sunday we was around different person's house, parties, and it was just one, it was what you call, without being, I don't know what the word is. It was a working holiday.
Yeah.
But it was, I really worked hard out there, and I was proud to be captain of Seattle for 3-4 years, and proud to break the record over there. And it was, I could never see myself coming home, Paul. It was just, once again you get an owner. The owner comes in. This is a problem with America, as it is here. The money situation, it was very difficult at that time. They're now on really great, good ground at the moment. They've moved into the seats where the Seahawks play, and the players are earning a lot of money, and it was just a shame that we missed the Bosman ruling, really.
Absolutely. We are going to go back and talk about those Seattle years that you hold so precious and dearly. But the next World Cup is going to be in America. So if Anthony's still there, because we don't know what we're going to be doing in 4 years' time, America don't have to qualify. It's in America, it's in Canada, and it's in Mexico. Now, it would be quite ironic that if America got to the final and played England in the final in 4 years' time, that it could be in the place that you could, if things had been so different and the if only situation, you could have played in the World Cup final for England as a 19-year-old, literally on your birthday. England could be playing, Anthony could be the coach, and it could be on your 75th birthday. All the stars are aligning now. It really is game on, isn't it? Because when we do play over there, it is going to be a new ball game, and America are going to be 4 years older.
Well, I think the future is brighter in America than it is in England.
Yeah.
We're very anti. Me and all my pals, and we do the podcast with Tony Jimenez and Don Shanks and all this stuff, and we called it all along that Southgate was ruining our chances in the Euros, and that proved to be right, because Italy haven't qualified for the World Cup, and it just goes to show that they were there for the taking at Wembley, and we didn't. He was far too negative. But whereas that won't happen with the United States, they're a forward-thinking country, and they will attack. Hence, they got beat the last game, but that they didn't really need to win it. But the time before, they won by 5, and the Chelsea kid got 3 goals. Pulisic, So I think there's going to be some drastic changes after this World Cup. I can't see this manager still being the England manager 4 years down the line.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But in 1979, you were on the run after the FA Cup final in '78 when Arsenal got beat to Ipswich 1-0. You had a chance meeting. I mean, it is incredible how Anthony got to be an American, really, with Bobby Moore. Bobby coming to the boxes, and Bobby had said to you, Jimmy's in the box down the way. Go and have a chat with him. He's looking for players to play in America. You'd never thought about going and playing in America. We've done podcasts before. I don't think you knew where Seattle was. I certainly didn't. I thought Washington was the capital, and it was in District Columbia. I didn't realise it was in the great Northwest. So, you going over there, again, it was a chance, and you took that chance. And Maureen, did Maureen go with you straight away, or did she stay in England for a bit? What was the next situation?
I think that's the first time she's moved with me. She didn't want to miss that opportunity. I don't think she was too keen on Stoke, but Seattle was a different ball game. And as you say, it was, 1 minute I was at Stamford Bridge, and I was hosting in one of the boxes there, but not being working for the club at all, but they had a spare box, and I was hosting this box, and I had the likes. I remember Dennis Waterman, he was a mate of mine at that time, and Dennis Sweeney, and he would come in there and be my guest, and a couple of other lads would be my guests, my friends, and it was great. And we'd watch a match on a Saturday afternoon, and it was just a sheer fluke that I went out to the bathroom and I was walking through and bumped into Bobby Moore, and it was a million to one shot, absolute million to one shot. And I just said to him, "Come round and have a drink, Bob." And they'd never give it another thought. I didn't think he'd come round, and he knocked on the door and he walked in, and it was great, you know, because, as I say, Waterman was there, so he had his. I think Dennis. I'm not sure if he still had his team then. The Dennis Waterman 11. I played for them, and against them, I played against them, or for them against them in Tony Curry's testimonial. Which was a packed house at Bramall Lane. So Dennis is a staunch he loves his football. So it was a great meeting. You know, you got a great TV entertainer, actor, and obviously my favourite footballer of all time, Bobby Moore, in the same box. And he just said, "Look, Al," he said, "what are you doing? You're wasting your life. You know, you haven't got long left. Don't get back out there, you know." And I said, "Look, Bob, nobody wants me." He said, "Well, Jimmy Gabbie will want you." He said, "I've been to Seattle." He says, "No, I can only tell you that you will just fit in like a new glove." He says, "You'll fit in perfectly. You'll love it." He said, "It's a great place." Bobby had played out there. I think he was out there when I think Jeff Hurst might have played out there. Harry Redknapp was out there when I got there, so that was a West Ham connection. Bobby Howe was a West Ham player. He was our coach, and sadly, Jimmy and Harry got the sack after my first season. I got injured in the last game against Vancouver, and I think that was a game changer. We had to win it to make the playoffs. We never made the playoffs, and they pulled the plug on Jimmy and Harry, which was sad. But then Alan Hinton took over, and I was in London when Alan Hinton was going to get the job, and I phoned Jimmy Gabbie up. I said, if you've got the sack, I said, I'm leaving. And like the great man he was, Jimmy Gabbie, he said, "No, Alan." He says, "No." He said, "I've been to your house. I know you've got a lovely home. You've got a lovely lifestyle. You've got a good contract. Please don't give it all up for me. You know, these things happen in football." And he said, "You know, give Alan Hinton a chance. You know, I'm sure he'll need you. He'll want you in the side to stay captain." And that's how it worked out. So, you know, there are good people in our game, you know, good people in your life. You know, I knew Jimmy pretty well because I played against him in Southampton on my debut when we lost 5-0, and Jimmy gave me a clump. And I've been on, strangely enough, our Chelsea team went on tour with Southampton. So I knew a lot about Jimmy, and I knew he was a good man. So it all kind of fell into place. And probably apart from Tony Waddington, Bobby was probably the only man that could have swayed me into going out and talking to him. Because I wouldn't really have took any notice of anybody else. It was because I had so much respect for Bobby. And it all worked out as he said.
Absolutely, and it's I mean, Jimmy Gabriel, great player, great manager, great drinker as well. I mean, he liked to tuck, didn't he? But you wouldn't want Jimmy picking you out in an identity parade, would you?
No, he had legs like a tree trunk. He would have got a lot more caps had Jim Baxter, the great Jim Baxter, not in the Scotland team around that time. But he played a few times for Scotland. He was a hard man. He was very, very tough, but he was a terrific footballer, and he had a good football. He had great knowledge, and he was just so unfortunate, Seattle, that we just didn't have the finance to improve the team. And I went there. Obviously, I was the biggest signing, and that kind of, you know, it kind of put the club back a little bit. Although, you know, it wasn't until Alan Hinton came in, really, they really, you know, he said, I'll only come and manage here if you give me the opportunity to bring some top class players in, which he did. The likes of Tommy Hutchinson and Coventry, Bruce Riot from Derby, and Roger Davis and Peter Ward from Forest and players like that. They were all good players. We had a terrific, and hence we won. We broke all records over there in one season. So that was pretty special.
Absolutely, and he mistakenly thought you were Chopper, didn't he, on that debut? He did tell you many years later.
Well, I had two exact same things happened to me. I played at Manchester United, Old Trafford one night, and Georgie Best jumped on my ankle, and I went down his club after, and I pulled him to one side. I said, George, what was all that about? He said, I thought you was Harris. I went, no, that one's been done, mate. I said, Ronnie Harris has got short hair. I got long hair. So
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, what the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
don't do that one on it. So two players that said they were after Harris got me. So I wish they would have got Harris, by the way.
And Harris had got them on a number of occasions, hence that's why they were looking for him. Everybody was looking for your house because you had a fantastic bar, and it was like, again, when you said it was like being on holiday and playing football. Some people get the impression that you didn't take your football serious, but you absolutely did. But it was a different climate, wasn't it, out there in Seattle? And your house, your bar was like a nightclub.
Well, it was like a day club and night club. It was, the people that we used to have come round and entertain a lot. And, I'm a great believer. I love the American way of life. I mean, that is a way they live their lives. They do a lot more drinking in their homes than they do when they go out. And that's when the pandemic hit us, I was in good stead. I couldn't understand that my mates were, saying, I don't drink at home. I said, what are you talking about? It's a big part of life, Come around, and I had people around here, and we watched matches, and I'd done food, and we had a few drinks and all that, and it's great, but it's only, I picked all that up, although I did it when I was playing for Chelsea in my home. I'd have friends around, but it is the American way of life. It is, it's a lot more social. They're a lot more social people where you go around their homes and instead of going out,
Absolutely. And Maureen, was she settled there in America? Did she like the lifestyle? Because there was 9 years between young Alan and young Anthony.
Yeah, he was. Alan was born the year we lost to the League Cup to Stoke, 72. So that was quite a year. And Anthony 9 years later in Seattle. So, and I missed the birth because I had to go to pre-season training in down on the coast, where Jim Rockford used to live, so right along that coastline. And I said to Alan, said at the airport, I said, Maureen's gone in to have, the kid. And he said, well, if you want to stay behind, you can. I said, no, Al. I said, you can have a kid anytime. You can't go down to Santa Barbara anytime you want. So off we went, and 2 days later, Anthony was born. So, I couldn't be more delighted, really.
Absolutely. and Anthony didn't play football as a kid because there in America, football wasn't the number one sport. In fact, Anthony didn't kick a ball until he went down to Tampa and he joined in with Shanks's football academy.
Yeah, yeah. I remind Don and Anthony of that day, and never dreaming that I mean, even when young Alan was only 7 when we went to Seattle, and he had to go to school and he had to adjust to he played in a little league baseball and stuff like that, but because they didn't play what they call soccer, they didn't play soccer at school, and then so he had to adjust. So that kind of put him back, and he would come to training with me, and Jamie Redknapp would come with Harry. So they were around about the same age, and I've always said it that had I got the Stoke job when the chairman died on that fateful day, Alan would have probably made it at Stoke and had a good career in the game, as Jamie did it. Jamie only got on really because Harry managed West Ham and Jamie's father was the assistant coach, and there used to be murders. That's why I had to leave West Ham, because the crowd used to get on Frank's back and saying he's only playing because his family run the club. So it was the best thing could have happened to him, because after speaking to Frank, I kind of edged him towards Chelsea. So I had a lot to do with his career, really.
Absolutely, Al. But you were back at Stoke City at that time, and you were pretty much retired. You had the season "Welcome Home" hoodie, and I still listen to that "Welcome Home" song by Peters and Lee, and think about it. Evokes the memory of when you turned out against Arsenal, your first game back. Your last game, of course, in England was for Arsenal. It was a very different Arsenal team, because I think Don was now the manager and he was the coach when you were Arsenal. But had things have gone better in America, and you've always said that when you get a bad American, you get a bad American. And I think because they didn't get the 1986 World Cup finals, the NASL league pretty much collapsed. But had things had worked out differently, you could have been the manager of the American national side and cut your teeth in management in America.
Yeah, I've that was. I mean, when Alan Hinton made me his assistant manager and player, along with playing, as that was probably my first foot in the door, and who knows where it would have led to, and then it just so happened that when I got sold back here, I was reaching the wrong side of 30, and so I didn't really. Well, I wasn't really mad about, like Anthony loves the coaching side of it. I would have been more of a manager side of it, but and probably being a little bit more like Ferguson, say, who was so incredibly successful, and he managed the team, but he oversee the training and stuff like that. But others coached it. But yeah, that would have been what I see my role as. And as I said, I've only ever been involved with 2 players. Well, one was Frank Lampard, who went to Chelsea, and one was Steve Bold, who was going to go to Everton. And I had a pub at the time, and he come in. He said, "I'm going to go to sign for Everton." I said, "Please don't, Steve." I said, "Because I spoke to Stuart Houston today, and he's going to buy Lee Dixon, but I've told him to tell George from me to sign you." So, and then he went there, and I told Tony White, I said, if he goes to Arsenal, I said he'll play for England, and he did. And he was as good a centre half, and well, they were very blessed at Stoke that we had another kid come through there, Alan Dodd, who was every bit as good. Had he gone to a bigger club, mind you, Alan didn't really want to play for England. He was happier, fixing his roof than he was playing football, I think, Alan. But it takes all sorts. But he was absolutely an amazing defender.
Absolutely. We've done that many podcasts and spoke that often now. You can read me mind. Because the next question I was going to ask you was, if Alan Hudson was the manager, would you be a manager or a coach? Because you famously done that wonderful podcast with young Anthony, Masterminds, and you was telling Anthony that you can either be a coach or you can be a manager. You can't do both. And throughout your career, Sexton was a coach who become a manager. It didn't work. But Waddington was a manager and he wasn't a coach. And you have to fixate on what you want to do. Do you want to be a coach? Or do you want to be a manager? You can't do both.
Yeah, it's common sense as well. It's if you're a manager and you take the coaching as you do the coaching as well, it's a very awkward balancing job, because if you fall out with a player in your office over money or whatever, or contract or whatever, or he lies to you like they lied to me, Chelsea, well, he ain't going to get the best out of you on the training field.
Yeah,
you're gonna kind of just think, well, no, if we don't get on, we don't get on. So there's that problem there, and I see that with Anthony when he was in Colorado. He had that problem as well. He had to work with the players both on the field and then in the office, and you start upsetting them in the office and you lose them on the training field and in matches.
Yeah.
I don't know how he gets away. I know it's different with Guardiola. He's got his only thing, and obviously the fella tonight with Thomas Tuchel with the Real Madrid game, he seems to have got it off to a fine art.
But again, now they've got their team behind them, haven't they? Because people think, oh, he's the manager, he's the coach, he does everything. No, I mean, I'm guessing Pep and Tuchel get involved in the training, etc. But they're managers and they've got the team that do the coaching. So again, they do, and they have that ability to understand the fine lines and the margins, and do dance on both sides of the divide, because they're clever and they're great management. But again, they're managers and they let the coaches coach. The great Matt Busby, yeah, Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy was the trainer and Matt was the manager. It's as you say, if you fall out with them, you lose them. So it's a kind of good cop, bad cop, isn't it, scenario?
Yeah. I think they had it right years ago. It's the same as years ago. You wouldn't see managers sitting on the line, on the bench, what they call it now, and the tracks in the technical area, as they call it. You wouldn't see managers years ago to do that. Waddington would always sit up in the director's box and watch from there, and you can't really see the game properly on the touchline. I don't understand why managers do it. I think a lot to do with it is the obvious the ego thing. They're being seen on TV and they're jumping up and shouting about it. Half of them are crackpots. I don't know what. I mean, in 20 odd years playing football, I never took any notice of anyone that said anything on the touchline. I just get used to get on with the game, and I think that applies to a lot of top players.
But again, Tony Waddington, said to you, Al, you're doing everything right, but in the wrong order. You go out there, play football. I know you can play football. That's why I've signed you. Whereas some other managers, for instance, Terry Neal, he tries to change, he tries to tell you what to do. When you've got a player as talented as you just tap him on the backside, go and play, come off, we'll both smile together.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's common sense. Yeah. It was Tony wouldn't give a team talk as such. He would. The funniest thing was when we lost in a League Cup at Lincoln in my second year there, and it was it was unacceptable, really. I think Graham Taylor was manager of Lincoln at that time, and we went to a nightclub. Come back about 2-3 in the morning, and he had locked us out. Tony had locked us out of the hotel. We couldn't get in, and next thing you know, the boys scampering up, drain pipes and all that, trying to get up to the room. And next thing you know, a voice come out the door. You can come in and he put a load of chairs around. And he sat down, and we had a team meeting about 3:30 in the morning, because he didn't want to go to bed and not sort it all out. So, and he sorted it, and that was the only time we really had a a big team meeting. And I think we went on a long unbeaten run after that.
Again, great manager, and Graham Taylor leads us nicely into 1993 because England have a history of playing America. I think the last time was in one of the World Cups. Can't remember what one it was, but I do remember a 1-1 draw. Stevie G, I think, scored for England. I remember who's a fella, Jamie Carragher, and I remember watching it in a bar in Stratford and thinking, this is the last game you're ever going to play for England, son, because as a right back that night, he was on toast. And you know, when I look at people that say England versus America, it's a walkover, it's easy for it. It is. It's going to be a difficult game. And in 1993, leading into the 1994 World Cup, which we failed to qualify under Graham Taylor, we played America in the US Cup, and I do remember the headline more than the performance. It was Yanks 2, Planks 0. It was in the Foxborough Stadium in Boston. You're absolutely correct, Al, when you said it was in Boston, and there was 37,652 watching that game that day.
Yeah, and they were, you know, it was unthinkable really that you could lose to them. Well, it goes back all them years ago when they lost the famous game, when then they lost 1-0 in was it in the 50s or 60s or something?
1950 World Cup, Guyton scored the goal in Belo Horizonte.
Unbelievable, yeah. But we moved on, and I don't know. There's something wrong, you know. I can't remember where I was when the game was on also, and I can remember being with 2 or 3 people, and they again said it's going to be a walkover. I said, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. They're not bad, and it's only really since the big money's gone into America that I think some of the players have.
To listen to the rest of this podcast, please go to www.patreon.com/SRBmedia, or just follow the links in the description. Thank you.
If you want years of better sleep, then you have to upgrade your bedding during Boll & Branch's annual summer event. Right now, you can get Boll & Branch's best-selling, naturally cooling sheets with their best offer of the season. Feel the difference night after night of light and breathable sheets made with the highest quality materials. Shop the Boll & Branch annual summer event now for 20% off site-wide. Plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details.